Okay, so we're going to go through this one now. First of all, we're going to try and eliminate one of these terms. I'm going to make x the subject. So we end up with x equals 13 minus 2y. We're going to sub that in, so to place where the x goes. So we end up with 13 minus 2y all squared minus y squared equals 9. Multiplying that out the brackets, 13 times 13 is 169, minus 26y minus another 26y, and then we've got plus 4y squared minus a y squared equals 9. So we want to get this, or simplify it, so we end up with 3y squared minus 52y, take the 9 over, so we end up with plus 160 equals 0. And at this point we can pop this into our calculator to solve it. It might be worth putting in the brackets as well at this point, just to show what that then comes out with. So it ends up being 3y minus 40, because on the calculator it says the answer is 40 over 3 and x equal to 4, so it must be x minus 4. And just double check, 40 times by negative 4 gets you positive 160. 3 times x, oh, made a mistake there, that should be a y. And some of you made that mistake of changing them to x's and not leave them as y's, which means that our answer ends up being y equals 40 over 3 or y equals 4. And kind of like what I done there, a lot of you kind of made some mistakes and changing that to an x, and then you then got the wrong answer for subbing it back in, because what we're now going to do is sub that into that formula, which I'm not going to do, but I'm sure you guys can just sub that in and you'll get your x values, getting another 2 answers. Okay, the next question is about solving inequalities. So this bit here again, the first thing we're going to have to do is figure out where it crosses. And a lot of you are not drawing sketches. Sketches are going to really help you with this inequality, because we're looking for this function to be greater than 0. That's this part of the graph here. So first thing is to factorize that. So we're looking for, it's a prime number, so we've got 2p and p. We've got 3 and 1, so if I put 3 there, 3 there. 3 and 1, because then I'm going to make 6p. So minus 6p, take away another 1, gets me my minus 7p. So we end up getting where it crosses, so p is equal to 1/2, p equal to 3 is where it crosses. So we're going to get 1/2 and 3. It's a quadratic that's positive, which means it's U-shaped, which means, and it does cross at 3, but the sketch doesn't have to be that accurate to say, you don't need to mark these points. Later on in this test you do need to mark that that's crossing at 3, but at this point you don't. What we're needing to know is we're wanting to work this inequality and we want it to be greater than 0, which means our p value has to be, less than 3, and it needs to be greater than 1/2. And that would be our answer there. So p greater than 1/2 and p less than 3. I just got that the wrong way around, don't I? Because that's the 1/2 one. So let's just change that. P is less than 1/2 and p is going to have to be greater than 3. So we can ignore that bit. It's a bit of a mistake there. Okay, then on to the next one. It's going to be a similar thing, apart from, you can see it's an extra mark just because this is already in a form where it's quadratic and solve. This bit is not, but we're going to have to just rewrite it. So if I multiply the brackets first, I get 2z minus z squared, z minus 12. Now with inequalities, we can just do what we do with equations, so we can move them. Now you can either move it this way or you can move it that way. It's probably better to move the z squared over the other side. So I'm going to keep my 0 on this side. Now that makes a positive z squared. And that is a 2z. It looks pretty dodgy, but that is a 2z. So we're going to take that away, which makes it minus 3z. And then we've got a minus 12. So what we now need to do is we need to factorise that. And this time we get z minus 4 and 4 times 3, so that's a z to make the z squared. So for 3's, have I just made like that's not going to factorise? So we've got z times z, got 2z, take away a z. Oh, so that should be, that's my mistake there. That should just be minus z. Okay, so take that bit off. So we just got a minus z because z take away 2z is just minus z. So we end up with z minus 4. Now this will work. So we get 4 times by positive 3. Yeah, so minus 4 plus 3. We get to our answers of 4 and 3. But again, we need to create a sketch, because this time we're wanting this function to be greater than 0. Well, actually, it's the same as the before one. So this time there's minus 3, there's 4. It's a normal quadratic, because if we're looking at this side, so it's a U shape. Again, we could see where it crosses, so it crosses at minus 12, but we don't need to do that into our sketches of where it is, which means again we're looking for our function to be greater than 0, which means we need our z value to be smaller than minus 3 and our z value to be greater than 4.